My parents missed my wedding for my sister's beach trip. Now they want me to apologize to her for ruining her trip with my wedding drama. My mom called me on speakerphone from Cancun, with my sister sobbing in the background, because my in-laws posted photos of the father-daughter dance with my father-in-law captioned, "Proud to finally have a daughter," and it made my sister feel excluded. My mother demanded I call my in-laws and make them delete the post. Instead, I commented on the post. I couldn't ask for a better or more supportive family. The words appeared on my screen before I could second-guess them. Thomas Parker had his arm around me in the photo, both of us mid-spin on the dance floor, my dress catching the light from the string lights. Patricia had spent 2 days hanging herself. The post already had 200 likes in the 4 hours since the reception ended. My single comment would detonate their perfect vacation. Claire, are you even listening? My mother's voice cut through the phone, sharp with that particular edge she reserved for when I'd failed to prioritize Brittany's feelings. Behind her, resort music played and my sister's theatrical sobbing reached a crescendo. Your sister is absolutely devastated. She's been planning this trip for months, and now all her followers are asking why she wasn't at your wedding. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is for her? I lay on the hotel bed staring at the ceiling. Jake had stepped out to get ice, correctly predicting I'd need privacy for this call. The irony of spending my wedding night managing the emotions of people who'd chosen a beach over my ceremony wasn't lost on me. Through the window, I could see the Portland skyline lit up, the city where I'd built my life without their support. Her followers? I kept my voice level. Mom, you told me 3 months ago that Brittany's Cancun trip was non-refundable. You said you'd already paid the deposit and couldn't lose the money. Well, yes, but you could have moved your wedding date. June is such a common month for weddings anyway. Brittany had been planning this trip since January. You only got engaged in December. I closed my eyes. The engagement had happened on New Year's Eve. I'd called my parents the next morning, breathless with joy. My mother's first question had been whether we were pregnant, because why else would we rush into marriage? When I'd mentioned a June wedding, she'd gone quiet for 3 seconds too long before mentioning Brittany's Mexico trip. Even then, I'd known what was coming. I sent you the save the date in January. You received it the same week you booked Brittany's trip. Don't twist this around, Claire. Your sister needs this vacation. She's been so stressed with her content creation. Do you know how hard it is to maintain an online presence? She has 12,000 followers who depend on her daily posts. 12,000 followers. Brittany had bought at least half of them from some website that sold fake engagement. I'd watched her obsess over her follower count since she'd turned 21 and decided regular employment was beneath her. My parents funded her lifestyle, paid her rent in Seattle, covered her car payment, all while she posted photos of acai bowls and called it a career. Mom, I'm on my honeymoon. Can we discuss this later? No. We cannot discuss this later. You need to fix this right now. Call Thomas and Patricia and tell them to delete that post. Better yet, have them post an apology explaining that they didn't mean to exclude Brittany. The audacity made my jaw clench. Thomas and Patricia Parker had paid for half my wedding when they'd learned my parents wouldn't contribute a single dollar. They'd claimed they couldn't afford it, but somehow had scraped together $4,000 for Brittany's all-inclusive resort package, first-class flights, and spending money. Patricia had personally altered my grandmother's wedding dress to fit me. Thomas had walked me down the aisle with tears streaming down his face, whispering that I was the daughter he'd always wanted. I'm not doing that. Excuse me? My mother's voice went ice cold. Did you just refuse to help your sister? My sister chose a beach vacation over my wedding. My in-laws chose to be there for the biggest day of my life. I'm not apologizing for having people who actually show up for me. Brittany's wailing intensified in the background. I could picture her perfectly, sprawled dramatically on a resort lounge chair, phone clutched in one hand while she refreshed social media to see who was commenting on her absence. She'd probably already posted a cryptic story about family betrayal, fishing for sympathy from strangers. You've always been jealous of your sister. My mother's accusation landed like she'd been saving it. Ever since you were little, you couldn't stand when she got attention. This is just another example of you trying to make everything about yourself. The hotel room key clicked in the door. Jake entered carrying an ice bucket and 2 bottles of champagne he'd charmed from the front desk. He took one look at my face and mouthed, "Your mom?" I nodded. He set everything down and sat beside me, taking my free hand. I'm jealous? The laugh that escaped me was bitter. Mom, I invited you to my wedding 9 months ago. I called every week to update you on plans. I asked if you wanted to help choose flowers, pick out centerpieces, anything to include you. You said you were too busy, but you had time to help Brittany plan her Instagram photo shoots for this trip. That's different. Brittany's career depends on her online presence. You have a stable job. You don't need us the same way she does. There it was, the same logic that had governed my entire childhood. Brittany needed more attention because she was sensitive. Brittany needed more financial support because she was creative. Brittany needed their presence at her community college graduation, even though it meant missing my nursing school pinning ceremony. Brittany's needs always eclipsed mine because I was the responsible one, the one who'd be fine without them. You're right, Mom. I don't need you the same way Brittany does. I don't need you at all anymore. Don't you dare take that tone with me, young lady. I am still your mother. A mother who missed her daughter's wedding for a beach vacation. It wasn't just a vacation. It was important for Brittany's mental health. She's been dealing with a lot lately. What's she been dealing with? Not having enough engagement on her lunch photos? You're being cruel now. Brittany is sensitive, and you know it. She cried for 2 hours today because people kept commenting on Thomas's post asking where we were. Do you know how that feels? Having strangers judge her online? Jake squeezed my hand. His expression told me he was 2 seconds from grabbing the phone and saying what I was too conditioned to say. 28 years of putting Brittany first had trained me to swallow my anger, to be the bigger person, to understand that my little sister needed special treatment. Not anymore. Here's what's going to happen, Mom. You're going to enjoy your trip. Brittany's going to post her perfectly filtered beach photos, and I'm going to enjoy being married to a man whose family actually loves me. When you get back to Portland, don't expect an invitation to our house. Don't expect Christmas cards. Don't expect baby announcements if we have kids. You made your choice when you bought those plane tickets. Claire Michelle Harper. You listened to me. I hung up. My hands shook as I set the phone on the nightstand. Jake immediately pulled me into his arms. I'm proud of you, he whispered into my hair. My phone buzzed. Text messages flooded in. My mother demanding I call back immediately. Brittany sending paragraphs about how I'd always been a terrible sister, how I'd ruined her trip, how I was selfish and cruel. I turned the phone face down. Want to see something? Jake handed me his phone. Thomas's post had exploded. It now had over 800 likes and hundreds of comments. My comment sat at the top with 200 likes of its own. People were sharing it, calling it wholesome, saying I was lucky to have such loving in-laws. Several people had commented asking where my parents were. One comment caught my eye. It was from my Aunt Rachel, my mother's older sister, who she'd had a falling out with 5 years ago over something trivial. Linda and Robert chose to go to Cancun with Brittany instead of attending. Says everything you need to know about priorities. Claire, you looked absolutely beautiful. Thomas and Patricia are blessed to have you. My mother was going to lose her mind. Aunt Rachel had 1,500 Facebook friends, many of them mutual connections with my parents. The truth was now public. Jake's phone buzzed with a call from his mother. He answered on speaker. Claire, honey, is everything okay? Linda just called Thomas absolutely screaming about our post. She demanded we delete it and said something about you making Brittany look bad. We're fine, Patricia. My mom is upset that people noticed they weren't at the wedding. Well, whose fault is that? Patricia's voice was pure steel. We would never dream of missing our son's wedding for a vacation. Thomas is ready to drive to the airport and fly to Mexico himself to give them a piece of his mind. Please don't. I smiled despite everything. They're not worth the plane ticket. You're family now, Claire. That means when someone hurts you, they hurt all of us. Linda Harper is about to learn what happens when you mess with a Parker. After we hung up, Jake opened the champagne. We toasted to new beginnings, to chosen family, to the life we'd build without people who'd proven they didn't deserve a place in it. My phone continued buzzing throughout the night. I ignored every message. Instead, I scrolled through Thomas's post, watching the likes climb past 1,000, watching comments pour in from people I'd gone to high school with, nursing school, friends from work. Everyone wanted to know the story behind my comment. Several people tagged my mother and Brittany in comments asking pointed questions. By midnight, Brittany had posted a long caption on Instagram about family drama and toxic siblings, accompanied by a photo of her crying in a resort bathroom. The comments weren't sympathetic. People who'd seen Thomas's post were calling her out, telling her she'd made her choice and should live with it. I fell asleep in my husband's arms, feeling lighter than I had in years. Somewhere in Cancun, my mother and sister were probably plotting how to fix their public image. They had no idea that their reaction to Thomas's post was just the beginning. I had spent 28 years being the good daughter, the understanding sister, the one who sacrificed so Brittany could shine. They'd pushed too far this time, and I was done bending. What came next would teach them a lesson about taking people for granted. The next morning, Jake and I were having breakfast at a cafe downtown when my phone started ringing nonstop. I turned off notifications, but the calls kept coming through. My father this time, not my mother. That was new. Dad usually let Mom handle family drama while he nodded along from his recliner. You need to answer, Jake said gently. This isn't going away. I picked up on the 7th call. Claire, what have you done? My father's voice was strained. Your mother is having a breakdown. Brittany locked herself in the hotel bathroom for 3 hours last night. Do you have any idea what you've started? I posted a comment thanking my in-laws for being there. That's all. That's not all, and you know it. Half of Portland has seen that post now. Your mother's book club friends are calling asking why we weren't at your wedding. My poker buddies saw it. Our neighbors saw it. Everyone's asking questions we shouldn't have to answer. Then tell them the truth, Dad. You chose Brittany's vacation over my wedding. It wasn't that simple. We'd already paid for the trip. We couldn't get refunds. You paid for the trip 2 months after I sent you the save the date. You knew the wedding date when you booked those tickets. Silence. Then, your sister needed this vacation more than you needed us at your wedding. You had Jake's parents there. You were fine. The casual dismissal hit harder than I'd expected. I'd always known where I ranked in their priorities, but hearing it stated so plainly still stung. You're right, I was fine without you, and I'll continue being fine without you. Don't be dramatic, Claire. Family is family. You can't just cut us off over one mistake. It wasn't one mistake, Dad. It's been 28 years of mistakes. This was just the final one. I hung up before he could respond. Jake reached across the table and squeezed my hand. His phone buzzed with a text from his mother. Linda just showed up at our house demanding we take down the post. Thomas told her to leave or he'd call the police. Thought you should know. Your mom came to their house? I stared at the message. My parents lived 40 minutes from the Parkers. They must have cut their trip short, flown home early, all because of social media backlash. Jake called his mother back. Patricia answered immediately, her voice tight with barely controlled anger. That woman had the audacity to show up at 7 in the morning, banging on our door, screaming about how we've humiliated her family. Thomas is still furious. He wanted to post screenshots of her texts, but I told him that would be stooping to her level. Wait, she's been texting you? 37 messages since last night, threatening to sue us for defamation, demanding we issue a public apology, claiming we've damaged Brittany's influencer career. It's unhinged, Claire. I've known your mother for 2 years and I've always been polite, but after this morning, I understand why you are the way you are. I felt something crack open inside me. Someone finally saw it. Someone finally understood that my family's dysfunction wasn't normal, wasn't something I should just accept. Thomas wants to talk to you, Patricia continued. There was shuffling. Then my father-in-law's voice came through, warm but firm. Claire, honey, I want you to know something. That post stays up. I don't care what your mother threatens or what Brittany posts. You're our daughter now, and we protect our family. What they did to you was wrong, and I won't let them bully us into pretending otherwise. My eyes burned with tears. Thank you. No thanks needed. Now, Patricia and I were thinking, why don't you and Jake come over for dinner tonight? We can celebrate your marriage properly, just the four of us. Unless you'd rather enjoy your honeymoon in peace. We agreed to dinner. After hanging up, I finally opened Instagram to see what Brittany had posted. Her story from last night was still up. A series of crying selfies with captions about betrayal and toxic family members. But this morning, she'd posted something new. A beach photo. Perfectly posed in a bikini with the ocean behind her. Caption reading, "Sometimes the people who should support you the most are the ones who tear you down. But I'm choosing to rise above the drama and focus on gratitude. Thank you to everyone who's reached out with love. Family isn't always blood. It's the people who show up for you." The comments were split. Half her followers were supportive, sending heart emojis and encouragement. The other half had clearly seen Thomas's post and weren't buying it. "So you chose a beach vacation over your sister's wedding, and now you're the victim?" One comment read, with 400 likes, "Girl, we can see through this. You made your choice. Own it instead of playing victim." Another said, "Your sister's in-laws showed her more love in one post than you've shown in years. Maybe think about that." A third commenter wrote. Brittany was deleting comments as fast as they came in, but she couldn't keep up. Her carefully curated image of being a loving, free-spirited influencer was crumbling. People were going through her old posts, noticing I'd never appeared in any of them, asking questions about why she'd never mentioned having a sister. My phone buzzed with a call from a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Claire Harper?" A woman's voice, professional and crisp. "Yes, this is Jennifer Walsh from Portland Today magazine. We're running a feature on modern family dynamics and wedding trends. We'd love to interview you about your viral wedding post and the choice to celebrate without your parents present. Would you be interested?" "I don't think that's a good idea. We'd compensate you for your time. $500 for a 30-minute interview. We're particularly interested in the growing trend of young people setting boundaries with family members and choosing alternative support systems." I hesitated. $500 wasn't nothing, but more importantly, this could be a chance to tell my side of the story instead of letting my mother and Brittany control the narrative. "Can I think about it?" "Of course. Here's my card via email. We'd need to move quickly, though. The story's trending right now." After she hung up, Jake looked at me with raised eyebrows. "Are you considering it?" "I don't know. Part of me wants to just let this die down, but another part wants people to know the truth. Not the version my mom will spin to her friends, but what actually happened. Whatever you decide, I support you. But Claire, if you do this interview, there's no going back. Your parents will lose their minds. They've already lost their minds. What's a little more fuel on the fire?" That afternoon, we met Thomas and Patricia for an early dinner at their house. Patricia had made my favorite pasta dish, and Thomas had hung a banner in the dining room that said, "Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Parker." They'd printed and framed several photos from the wedding, displaying them on the mantel. "We wanted you to have a proper celebration," Patricia said, hugging me tight. "Yesterday was beautiful, but it should have been bigger. Your parents should have been falling over themselves to celebrate you." Over dinner, Thomas told us about my mother's visit that morning. She'd accused them of deliberately posting the photo to humiliate her, of trying to steal her daughter, of ruining Brittany's mental health. When Thomas had calmly pointed out that they'd simply shared a moment from the wedding, she'd threatened to tell everyone they were manipulative and controlling. I told her that we have documentation of every dollar we contributed to the wedding, every hour Patricia spent on alterations and decorating, every text message where we offered support while your parents offered excuses. If she wants to make this a public battle, we have receipts. I nearly choked on my wine. "You kept documentation?" "Honey, I've been in construction for 30 years. I document everything. When your parents didn't contribute financially and didn't show up, I had a feeling there might be problems down the road. I wanted to protect you." Jake's hand found mine under the table. These people, who'd known me for less than 2 years, had protected me better than my parents had in 28. Patricia brought out a wedding cake she'd ordered, a small 2-tier design with fresh flowers. "You didn't get to properly cut your cake yesterday because the reception ended early. We're doing it right." As Jake and I posed for photos, cutting the cake while Thomas and Patricia applauded, my phone buzzed repeatedly in my purse. I ignored it. Whatever crisis my mother was manufacturing could wait. For the first time in my life, I was choosing to be present for people who actually valued my presence. Later that night, back at our apartment, I finally checked my messages. My mother had sent 43 texts, ranging from desperate pleas to vicious accusations. Brittany had sent a novel-length message calling me every name she could think of, blaming me for ruining her vacation and her engagement numbers. But there was also a message from my Aunt Rachel, my mother's estranged sister. "Your mother called me screaming about you. I told her she got exactly what she deserved. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. If you ever want to talk about what it's like to be cut off from Linda Harper for having boundaries, I'm here." She did the same thing to me 5 years ago. I stared at that message for a long time. My mother had a pattern of cutting off family members who didn't cater to her demands. I wasn't the problem. I was just the latest person to refuse to play her game. I texted Jennifer Walsh from Portland Today. "I'll do the interview. When can we schedule it?" Jake looked over my shoulder and smiled. "No regrets?" "None. They want to make this about me being a bad daughter and a jealous sister. I'm going to show everyone who they really are." The interview with Portland Today was scheduled for Wednesday morning at a cafe in downtown. I'd spent 2 days preparing, gathering evidence I never thought I'd need. Screenshots of texts where I'd invited my parents to wedding planning appointments, only to be told they were busy helping Brittany with photo shoots. Bank statements showing the $15,000 Jake and I had saved for the wedding. Receipts from the Parkers' contributions. The original save the date I'd sent in January, 6 weeks before my parents had booked Brittany's Cancun trip. Jennifer Walsh arrived exactly on time, carrying a leather portfolio and a recording device. She was in her 40s, professionally dressed, with kind eyes that immediately put me at ease. Thank you for agreeing to this, Claire. I want you to know upfront that this piece is about your experience, not sensationalizing family drama. We're focusing on the broader trend of millennials setting boundaries with parents who expect unlimited access and forgiveness. We talked for 90 minutes. I told her everything, not just about the wedding, but about a lifetime of coming second to Brittany. The nursing school ceremony my parents had missed for Brittany's community college graduation. The 23rd birthday when they'd forgotten to call because they were helping Brittany move apartments. The time I'd been hospitalized with appendicitis. And they'd visited for 20 minutes before leaving to take Brittany to a concert. Jennifer took notes steadily, occasionally asking follow-up questions. When I showed her the timeline of events, the proof that my parents had booked Brittany's trip after receiving my wedding date, her expression hardened. And your sister's response to all this? I pulled up Brittany's Instagram, showing Jennifer the posts from the past few days, the crying selfies, the victim narrative, the carefully crafted image of a wronged woman. Then I showed her something I discovered the night before. Brittany's follower count had dropped by 3,000 in 4 days. People were unfollowing in droves, and her engagement rate had plummeted. She's losing the one thing she cares about, I said quietly, her online validation. How does that make you feel? Honestly, I thought I'd feel guilty. I've spent my whole life protecting Brittany's feelings, but I don't feel guilty at all. She made choices, and choices have consequences. The article would run the following Monday. Jennifer promised to send me a draft for approval before publication. As we were wrapping up, she asked one final question. What would you say to other people dealing with similar family dynamics? I thought about it carefully. I'd say that being family doesn't give someone the right to treat you as less important. Blood relation doesn't obligate you to accept crumbs when you deserve a seat at the table. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is walk away from people who refuse to value you. That evening, Jake's parents invited us over again. When we arrived, Thomas was pacing in the living room, his phone pressed to his ear. He looked furious. I don't care what you think you're entitled to, Linda. You made your choice, and now you're dealing with the consequences of that choice. No, I will not meet with you. No, Claire doesn't want to talk to you. Yes, I'm serious about calling the police if you show up here again. He hung up and turned to us. Your mother just tried to threaten me with a lawsuit. She claims we've alienated you from your family and that we're responsible for the damage to Brittany's influencer career. She's blaming you for Brittany losing followers. Apparently, we're single-handedly destroying her daughter's livelihood by refusing to take down a wedding photo. I told her if she wants to sue someone, she should sue herself for being a terrible mother. Patricia appeared from the kitchen with a bottle of wine. Thomas, you promised you'd stay calm. I am calm. I haven't driven to their house and told them exactly what I think of parents who abandon their daughter on her wedding day. That's very calm for me. Despite the tension, I smiled. Having someone fight for me this fiercely was new and overwhelming and exactly what I needed my whole life. We spent the evening looking through more wedding photos on Patricia's laptop. She'd hired a professional photographer as a surprise gift, and the images were stunning. There was one of me laughing with Jake's grandmother, one of Thomas walking me down the aisle with tears on his cheeks, one of Patricia fixing my veil before the ceremony. Each photo told the story of a family who'd shown up, who'd cared, who'd made sure I knew I mattered. I want to send these to your mother, Patricia said suddenly. I want her to see exactly what she missed. Patricia, no. I started, but she was already pulling up my mother's email address. She needs to see this. She needs to understand that her absence wasn't just noticed, it was filled. She's been replaced, Claire, and not because we set out to replace her, but because she abandoned her post and we stepped in. The email sent before I could argue. Within 10 minutes, my phone exploded with calls from my mother. I let every single one go to voicemail. When she finally gave up calling, she sent a text. How dare you let those people send me photos like they're your real parents? You've betrayed your family. Don't expect us at Thanksgiving or Christmas. You've made your choice. I showed the text to Jake, who read it and shook his head. She's cutting you off like she's doing you a favor. She does this, I explained. She cuts people off when they won't do what she wants, then acts like she's the victim when they don't come crawling back. She did it to Aunt Rachel. She's done it to cousins, old friends, anyone who sets a boundary. Thomas overheard and sat down across from me. Claire, I want you to listen carefully. Your mother is banking on you breaking. She thinks if she threatens to cut you off from holidays and family events, you'll panic and apologize and delete everything and make this go away. That's her pattern. Don't give her what she wants. I won't. Good. Because Patricia and I have already decided that you and Jake are spending every holiday with us from now on. You're not losing a family. You're gaining a better one. That night, I called Aunt Rachel. We'd never been particularly close, mostly because my mother had forbidden contact after their falling out. Rachel answered on the second ring. Claire? I was hoping you'd call. We talked for 2 hours. Rachel told me about her own estrangement from my mother, how 5 years ago she'd refused to loan Brittany $5,000 for a business opportunity that was clearly a scam. My mother had accused her of being jealous of Brittany's success, of trying to sabotage her daughter. When Rachel had pointed out that Brittany had no income and no business plan, my mother had called her toxic and cut off all contact. I tried to warn you once, Rachel admitted. You were about 19, home from college. I pulled you aside at a family gathering and said you needed to start setting boundaries. You looked at me like I'd suggested you murder someone. I wasn't ready to hear it then. No one's ever ready to hear that their mother is narcissistic and their sister is the golden child. It's a painful realization. But Claire, I'm so proud of you for standing up for yourself. That takes courage. Linda hasn't broken out of you yet. She tried. 28 years of trying. But she failed. And now she's panicking because she's losing control. Watch what happens next. She'll try love bombing, guilt tripping, playing victim, and when none of that works, she'll try to turn the rest of the family against you. Most of the family already chose sides after your falling out. True. But some people are watching this differently. Your cousin Melissa called me yesterday. She saw the wedding post and your mother's reaction, and she's starting to ask questions about the family dynamics. You might be surprised who reaches out to you. After we hung up, I felt lighter. I wasn't alone in this. There were other people who'd survived my mother's manipulation and come out stronger. The Portland Today article was scheduled to publish Monday morning. Jennifer had sent me the draft, and it was perfect, fair but honest, showing both sides while making clear through simple facts and timeline what had actually happened. She'd included quotes from me, statistics about estranged family relationships, and expert commentary from a family therapist about parents who play favorites. Sunday night, I posted a preview on my personal Facebook page. I'm honored to be featured in Portland Today tomorrow, discussing family dynamics, boundaries, and what it means to choose your own support system. Thank you to everyone who's reached out with kindness. Within an hour, Brittany posted her own announcement. Despite false narratives being spread about me, I'm focusing on my truth and my healing. Sometimes family members will lie to make themselves look better. I'm choosing to rise above it. The comments on her post were brutal. People were done with her victim routine. Someone had screenshotted text messages, I suspected leaked by a mutual friend, showing Brittany laughing about missing my wedding because Claire's weddings are always boring anyway. The screenshots were spreading fast. I went to bed that night knowing tomorrow would be chaos. The article would publish, my mother would lose her mind, and there would be no going back. But I also knew I was ready. For the first time in my life, I was choosing myself over their comfort, and it felt like freedom. The Portland Today article went live at 6 in the morning. By 7, my phone had crashed from notifications. Jennifer had titled it, "When Family Chooses Favorites. One Woman's Wedding Day Awakening." The piece was trending on their website, shared thousands of times across social media. My mother called at 7:15. I answered on speaker so Jake could hear. "You've destroyed this family." Her voice shook with rage. "That article is full of lies and manipulations, and I will be contacting their legal department. You've slandered your sister and made us look like monsters. Everything in that article is documented fact, Mom. I have receipts for every claim." "Receipts? You kept receipts against your own family? What kind of daughter does that? The kind who finally got tired of being gaslit. Don't you use that psychology buzzword with me. You've always been dramatic. Always playing the victim. We gave you everything growing up. You gave Brittany everything. I got whatever was left over." "That is not true. We treated you both equally." Jake leaned forward. "Linda, this is Jake. I have a question. When was the last time you called Claire just to talk? Not to ask her to do something for Brittany. Not to guilt her about something. Just to see how she was doing." Silence. "That's what I thought," Jake continued. "Claire deserves better than what you've given her. Thomas and Patricia showed us what real parents look like. You should take notes." My mother's voice turned venomous. "You poisoned her against us. This is your fault. All of it. Claire was a good daughter until you came along." "No. I was a compliant daughter," I corrected. "There's a difference, and I'm done being compliant." She hung up. Within minutes, Brittany posted an Instagram story, a black screen with white text. "When family members publicly humiliate you for clicks and clout, praying for healing." The comments tore her apart. People were posting screenshots of the Portland Today article, pointing out specific examples of her selfishness. Someone had dug up old posts where she'd complained about family obligations, including one from 2 years ago where she'd written, "Ugh, have to waste my Saturday at my sister's thing," before deleting it. Nothing on the internet ever truly disappears. By noon, Brittany's Instagram account went private. Her follower count had dropped to 8,000. Her dreams of being a successful influencer were crumbling. And for once, she couldn't blame me directly without proving everything in the article correct. My phone rang again. This time it was my cousin Melissa, someone I hadn't talked to in 5 years. "Claire, I just read that article. I had no idea things were this bad. Mom never mentioned it. She told everyone you were going through a rebellious phase and that you'd skipped family events because you were too busy with work. She made it sound like you'd drifted away by choice." "Of course she did. I'm calling because I want you to know that not everyone in the family is buying her version anymore. Aunt Rachel sent the article to the family group chat, and people are asking questions. Your mom left the chat. So did Brittany." This was new information. My mother controlled family narratives carefully, presenting herself as the martyred parent dealing with difficult children. If people were questioning her version of events, she was losing the one thing she'd always had: unquestioned authority. How many people are in that chat? 23 family members. Parents, aunts, uncles, cousins. Most of them have read the article by now. Uncle Tom said he always thought something was off about how your mom talked about you. Aunt Diane admitted she noticed the favoritism years ago, but didn't feel like it was her place to say anything. What about my dad? What's he saying? Nothing. He's completely silent. But your mom posted this long message about how you've been manipulated and how she's heartbroken that you've chosen lies over family. Nobody responded to it. After hanging up with Melissa, I checked my email. There were interview requests from 3 other publications, an invitation to appear on a local morning show, and messages from dozens of strangers sharing their own stories of parental favoritism and estrangement. One email stood out. It was from a lawyer named Victoria Chen. "Ms. Harper, I specialize in family law and estrangement cases. If your mother follows through on her threat to sue Portland Today or the Parkers, please contact me immediately. I work pro bono for cases like yours. What happened to you is a pattern I've seen many times, and I'd be honored to help protect you." I forwarded it to Thomas, who called me within minutes. "Claire, your mother just sent me a cease and desist letter. She's demanding I take down the wedding post, issue a public apology, and pay for Brittany's therapy costs due to the emotional distress we've caused. She's actually trying to sue you. Her lawyer's name is on the letter, but I'm guessing she's paying him with money she doesn't have. These cease and desist letters are scare tactics. I called my attorney and he laughed. We have documentation of everything. And more importantly, we have truth on our side. She has nothing but hurt feelings and damaged pride." Patricia grabbed the phone. "Claire, honey, we're going to fight this. Not just for us, but for you. Your mother needs to learn that she can't bully people into silence anymore." That afternoon, Thomas did something I never expected. He updated his original Facebook post with an addendum. "I've received legal threats for posting photos from my son's wedding and expressing my love for my new daughter-in-law. I will not be intimidated into taking this down. Claire deserves to be celebrated, and I'm proud to be the father figure she never had. Linda and Robert Harper chose a beach vacation over their daughter's wedding. That's not my fault. That's their failure as parents. The update was shared 800 times in the first hour. Comments poured in from people sharing their own stories of being abandoned by parents, of setting boundaries, of choosing found family over biological family. My mother's reputation was disintegrating in real time. At 4 in the afternoon, my father called. His voice was quiet, defeated. "Claire, your mother is talking about moving. She says she can't live in Portland anymore because everyone's turned against her. That's her choice, Dad. She's not well. She hasn't eaten in 2 days. She just sits on the couch refreshing social media, reading comments, crying. And what are you doing while she's falling apart? What can I do? She won't listen to reason. She thinks this will all blow over if she just waits it out. It won't blow over. She burned the bridge, Dad. There's no rebuilding it. You're my daughter. Doesn't that mean anything? I was your daughter on June 15th too. Where were you then?" He had no answer. The call ended with him saying he'd try to talk sense into my mother, a promise I knew he'd never keep. My father had spent 30 years choosing the path of least resistance, agreeing with my mother to avoid conflict. He wasn't going to change now. That evening, Jake and I had dinner with Thomas and Patricia again. It was becoming a routine, this gathering of my chosen family. Thomas showed me responses from his attorney Rebecca, who drafted a reply to my mother's cease and desist that was professional but devastating. It pointed out that truth is an absolute defense, that the post contained no false statements, and that Linda Harper's attempt to silence people from sharing their experiences constituted harassment. "Rebecca wants to file a counterclaim for harassment if your mother continues," Thomas explained. "She's prepared to go scorched earth if necessary. I don't want you spending money fighting my mother. Honey, some things are worth fighting for. You're worth fighting for." As we ate, Patricia's phone rang. She glanced at the screen and frowned. "It's blocked number." She answered anyway, putting it on speaker. My mother's voice filled the room, high-pitched and desperate. "Patricia, please. You have to help me fix this. Talk to Claire. Make her understand what she's done to our family." "Linda? How did you get this number?" "That doesn't matter. What matters is my daughter has been turned against me, and you're responsible." "No, Linda. You're responsible. You chose a vacation over your child's wedding. You chose your golden child over your daughter who actually has her life together. You made these choices, and now you're facing consequences. I demand you take down that post and issue an apology." Thomas took the phone. "Linda, listen very carefully. That post stays up forever. Every legal threat you make will be met with counteraction. Every attempt to harass my family will be documented and reported. You have no power here. You have no leverage. All you have is a daughter who finally stood up to you, and you can't handle it. Thomas Parker, you will regret this. I have friends, connections. You had friends. Past tense. I've been in this community for 30 years. I know exactly what people are saying about you right now. And trust me, it's not flattering. You've shown everyone who you really are, Linda. There's no putting that genie back in the bottle." She hung up. We sat in silence for a moment before Patricia started laughing. "I'm sorry," she gasped. "I know I shouldn't laugh, but the audacity of that woman calling here demanding we fix the mess she created." Thomas was grinning too. "She actually said she has connections. Like she's going to call in some kind of favor to make this go away. The woman has no idea how the real world works." I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't sad anymore. It was almost funny, watching my mother flail as she realized that her usual tactics weren't working. The guilt trips didn't land. The threats fell flat. The victim narrative was rejected. She'd finally met people who couldn't be manipulated, and she had no idea how to function. My phone buzzed with a text from Brittany. "I hope you're happy. Mom's having a breakdown because of you. She might have to be hospitalized, but I guess that doesn't matter to you anymore since you have your perfect new family." I showed the text to Jake, who rolled his eyes. "Even now, she's trying to make you feel guilty." "It's not working," I realized out loud. For the first time in my life, her guilt trips aren't working. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. Tomorrow would bring more chaos, more threats, more desperate attempts from my mother and sister to regain control. But they were fighting a battle they'd already lost. I was free, surrounded by people who actually loved me, and no amount of manipulation could pull me back into their dysfunction. The war wasn't over, but I'd already won. The next morning, my mother's final play revealed itself in spectacular fashion. She'd created a Facebook post, public for everyone to see, with a lengthy statement about mental health, parental alienation, and the pain of having a child turned against you by toxic in-laws. She'd tagged me, Jake, Thomas, and Patricia. My daughter Claire has been manipulated by her new husband's family into believing lies about her childhood. I'm heartbroken to watch as she publicly humiliated her sister and spread false narratives about our family. Brittany is undergoing therapy for the emotional damage caused by Claire's cruel social media posts. As a mother, I'm devastated, but I want Claire to know that when she's ready to break free from this toxic situation, I'll be here with open arms and forgiveness. The post had been up for 20 minutes when I saw it. Already people were commenting, but not the supportive comments my mother expected. Aunt Rachel had posted first. "Linda, I was there for Claire's childhood. I watched you prioritize Brittany for 28 years. I watched you miss Claire's important events while attending every one of Brittany's trivial milestones. You're not the victim here. You're the reason Claire had to find a real family elsewhere." My cousin Melissa added, "Claire didn't lie about anything. I've seen the receipts. The timeline doesn't lie, Aunt Linda. You booked Brittany's vacation after receiving the wedding date." Then came comments from people I didn't even know. Strangers who'd followed the story through the Portland Today article. Someone had shared screenshots of Brittany's deleted Instagram posts, including the one about my wedding being boring and not worth attending. Another person posted a photo of my parents parents' public Facebook check-ins from Cancun on my wedding day, proof they'd been at the beach while I was getting married. My mother was being destroyed in real time by her own digital footprint. Within an hour, she'd deleted the post. But screenshots lived forever, and people had captured everything. The story was picked up by a blogger who ran a website about narcissistic parents. And suddenly, I was being held up as an example of successful estrangement. That's when my mother made her biggest mistake. She showed up at my apartment. Jake and I were having coffee when the doorbell rang insistently. I checked the camera we'd installed after my mother's harassment started. She stood there with Brittany, both dressed formally like they were going to a business meeting. My mother carried a manila folder. Brittany had her phone out, clearly recording. "Don't open it," Jake said immediately. "Call the police." "No, I want to hear what she has to say. Record it from inside." Jake pulled out his phone and started recording as I opened the door, keeping the chain lock engaged. "Claire, we need to talk," my mother began, her voice artificially sweet. "We've brought some documents that prove you've been misled about your childhood." "Documents?" She held up the folder. "Photos of us at your events, birthday cards we sent, receipts showing we supported you financially, evidence that you're lying about being neglected. You're rewriting history, Mom." "No. You're rewriting history because Thomas and Patricia have poisoned you. We have proof that we were good parents." Brittany stepped forward, still filming. "Claire, just admit you've been exaggerating for attention. Apologize, take down your comments, and we can all move forward." "Move forward to what? You two pretending you didn't choose a beach over my wedding?" "It wasn't just a beach vacation." My mother snapped, her facade cracking. It was important for Brittany's career. She needed content for her followers. Your wedding was just one day. There it was, the truth she'd been dancing around for weeks. My wedding, the most important day of my life, was just one day. But Brittany's Instagram content was a career emergency that justified missing it. Jake stepped into frame behind me. "Did you get that?" He asked his phone's camera. "Linda Harper just admitted on camera that she prioritized her daughter's Instagram posts over her other daughter's wedding. That's going to make great content." My mother's face went white. "You're recording this? You're recording it?" I pointed to Brittany's phone. "We're just documenting our side." "This is entrapment," my mother sputtered. "No, this is you showing up uninvited at our home and admitting the truth. You can leave now. We're not leaving until you agree to fix this mess. Then I'm calling the police for trespassing." I pulled out my phone. My mother's voice turned vicious. "You ungrateful little bitch. After everything we've done for you, we raised you, fed you, put a roof over your head. The bare minimum legal requirements for having a child." Jake interrupted. "You want a medal for not committing child abandonment?" Brittany was crying now. Real tears this time. "Claire, please. My follower count is down to 6,000. Brands are dropping sponsorships. I can't get collaboration offers anymore. You've ruined my career. You ruined your own career when you posted about skipping your sister's wedding for beach content. That was private. You had no right to share those screenshots." "I didn't share them, but plenty of people saw them before you deleted them. The internet doesn't forget, Brittany." My mother pulled out her phone. "I'm calling Thomas Parker right now, and I'm going to tell him exactly what kind of manipulative person he's welcomed into his family." "Go ahead," I said calmly. "He won't answer. You're blocked on his phone." She dialed anyway. When it went straight to voicemail, she tried Patricia. Same result. Her face cycled through confusion, anger, and finally something that looked like genuine panic. She was losing control completely, and she had no idea how to function without it. "You've turned everyone against us," she whispered. "Our friends won't return calls. Your father's poker group uninvited him. My book club asked me to leave. People cross the street when they see us coming. You've destroyed our reputation." "No, Mom. You destroyed your own reputation by choosing poorly and then trying to bully everyone into pretending it didn't happen." Brittany suddenly lurched forward, trying to push past me into the apartment. Jake caught her, gently but firmly pushing her back. She stumbled into my mother, both of them falling back from the doorway. "That's assault," my mother screamed. "I'm calling the police." "You witnessed it, Brittany. He pushed you." "Please do call the police," Jake said calmly. "I'd love for them to see the footage of Brittany trying to force her way into our home while you trespassed after being asked to leave." I closed the door and locked it. Through the camera, I watched my mother pound on the door for another 2 minutes before finally giving up. They left, Brittany still crying, my mother's face twisted with rage. "That was intense," Jake said, his hands shaking slightly as he stopped recording. "That was necessary. She needed to be told no to her face." Within an hour, Brittany posted the video she'd recorded, but she'd edited it to start after my mother's admission about the Instagram content, making it look like we'd been cruel and dismissive without provocation. The comments immediately called her out for the obvious editing, demanding to see the full video. When she couldn't provide it without incriminating my mother, people assumed the worst. Her follower count dropped to 5,000. Jake uploaded our full video to a private YouTube link and sent it to family members. Within the family group chat that Melissa had mentioned, the video was shared. My mother had no defense left. Everyone could see her admission, her manipulation attempt, Brittany's attempt to force entry into our home. My father called that evening, his voice hollow. "Your mother is insisting we move out of state. She wants to go to Arizona, start fresh, where no one knows us." "And what do you want?" "Dad, I want my family back, but I don't know how to have that without choosing between you and your mother. You've been choosing between us my whole life, Dad. You've always chosen her and Brittany. This is just the first time there are consequences for that choice. I know I've failed you. I know I should have stood up for you more. But Claire, she's my wife. I can't abandon her." "Then don't. But understand that choosing her means losing me. I'm done accepting scraps of attention and pretending it's enough. If we move to Arizona, would you ever visit?" The question broke my heart, but my answer was firm. "No, Dad. I wouldn't, because visiting would require pretending none of this happened, and I'm done pretending." He was quiet for a long moment. "I'm proud of you, you know, for standing up for yourself. I wish I'd had that kind of courage when I was younger. It's not too late for you to find it." "Yes, it is. I made my choices 30 years ago when I married your mother. I'm too old to start over." After we hung up, I cried for the father I'd never really had, for the relationship that could have existed if he'd found his spine. But the tears were cleansing. not devastating. I was mourning what never was, not what I'd lost. The next day, Thomas called with news. My mother's lawyer had withdrawn from her case. Apparently, when presented with the evidence Thomas's attorney had compiled, he'd realized my mother had no legal standing and dropped her as a client. The cease and desist threat was dead. "We won," Thomas said simply. "She has no moves left. She'll find something. She always does. Let her try. We're ready for whatever comes next." But nothing came. 2 weeks later, my father called to say they were listing the house. They were moving to Arizona in a month. Brittany was going with them, unable to afford Seattle on her own with her influencer career in ruins. My mother had told family members she was leaving to escape the toxic environment in Portland, but everyone knew the truth. She was running away from consequences. The day they moved, I didn't say goodbye. I didn't help pack. I didn't shed a tear as the moving truck pulled away from my childhood home. Jake and I went to dinner with Thomas and Patricia instead, celebrating the freedom that came from finally cutting off the dead weight I'd been carrying for 28 years. 3 months after my wedding, I received a card in the mail. Inside was a generic thinking of you message and a note in my mother's handwriting. "When you're ready to apologize and make amends, we'll be here. Love, Mom." I showed it to Jake, who read it and laughed. "She still thinks you're going to apologize. She'll be waiting a long time." I threw the card away without responding. That night, Patricia and Thomas came over for dinner at our apartment. Patricia brought baby photos of Jake, and we spent the evening looking through albums, hearing stories about Jake's childhood. This was what family was supposed to look like. People who showed up, who celebrated you, who didn't keep score or play favorites. "I have something for you," Thomas said, pulling an envelope from his jacket. Inside was a check for $10,000. "Patricia and I want to help you furnish your apartment properly. Consider it a belated wedding gift. You've already given us so much. We've given you what you deserved all along: love, support, and respect. The money is just a bonus." As they left that night, Patricia hugged me tight. "I know we can't replace your parents, Claire, but we can show you what parents should have been. You already have." 6 months after my wedding, I ran into one of my mother's former book club friends at the grocery store. She approached me cautiously. "Claire, I wanted to apologize. I knew things were bad with your family, but I didn't realize how bad until everything came out. Your mother always painted such a different picture. She's good at that. For what it's worth, most of us in the book club have cut ties with her. We couldn't support someone who treats their child that way. I hope you're doing well." I'm doing better than I ever have. And it was true. Without my mother's constant criticism, without Brittany's drama, without the weight of always coming second, I was thriving. I'd gotten a promotion at work. Jake and I were planning a real honeymoon for our anniversary. The Parkers had become my family in every way that mattered. My mother wanted an apology. What she got was permanent exile from my life, and I'd never been happier. A year after my wedding, on a sunny afternoon in June, Jake and I hosted a barbecue to celebrate our anniversary. The Parkers were there, along with Aunt Rachel, cousin Melissa and her family, several friends from work, and my neighbors who'd become close friends. Our apartment's small patio was crowded with people who genuinely cared about us. Thomas stood by the grill, telling the story of walking me down the aisle for probably the 20th time, but no one minded. Patricia showed off photos from our honeymoon in Hawaii, the trip the Parkers had insisted on paying for as their anniversary gift. Aunt Rachel was planning a family reunion for all the relatives who distanced themselves from my mother over the years, and she wanted us to be guests of honor. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown Arizona number. I almost deleted it without reading, but curiosity won. "Claire, this is your mother. We've been in Arizona for 10 months now. Brittany moved back in with us because she couldn't find work. Your father's health isn't good. I think the stress of everything has affected him. We don't know anyone here. I made a mistake leaving Portland. Please call me. We need to talk about reconciling." I read it to Jake, who shook his head. Even now, she can't actually apologize. It's all about what she needs. Notice how she's not sorry for missing the wedding or choosing Brittany over me. She's sorry that her escape plan didn't work out. Thomas overheard and walked over. "Is that from Linda?" I showed him the message. His expression hardened. "She's reaching out because she's miserable and alone, not because she's had any genuine self-reflection. Don't fall for it." "I'm not. I was just marveling at the audacity." Patricia joined us, reading the message over Thomas's shoulder. "She thinks you'll come running back now that she's admitted to being lonely. Classic manipulation. Don't respond, Claire." But I did respond, one final time. "Mom, you made your choices. You chose Brittany's Instagram vacation over my wedding. You chose defending her over acknowledging my hurt. You chose harassment and legal threats over taking responsibility. You chose to move to Arizona rather than face consequences. Those were all your choices, and I'm living with mine. I chose a family that shows up, that celebrates me, that doesn't keep score. I chose people who treat love as action, not obligation. I chose the Parkers, and I've never regretted it for a second. Don't contact me again." I blocked the number before she could respond. That evening, as the party wound down and friends began leaving, Thomas pulled me aside. "I want you to know something. When Jake first brought you to meet us, I saw something in your eyes. A wariness, like you were waiting for the other shoe to drop. It took months before you really relaxed around us. I'd never had unconditional support before. I didn't know how to accept it. And now I know what family is supposed to feel like. Thank you for showing me." He hugged me, and I felt tears sting my eyes. These were happy tears, gratitude tears, tears for what I'd gained rather than what I'd lost. Patricia joined the hug, sandwiching me between them. "You've given us just as much, Claire. We always wanted a daughter, and now we have one. A real one. Not the fake relationship your mother pretended to have with you." Later that night, Jake and I cleaned up the apartment together. My phone sat on the counter, silent. No more desperate messages from my mother. No more guilt trips from Brittany. No more manipulation disguised as family obligation. "Do you ever regret it?" Jake asked, cutting them off completely. "Never. Not once. Do you know what I regret?" "What?" "That I didn't do it sooner. I wasted 28 years trying to earn love from people who were never going to give it. I could have spent those years building relationships with people who actually valued me. You have those relationships now." "I do, and I'm never letting them go." 2 years after my wedding, I got pregnant. The news filled me with joy and a small amount of anxiety about how to navigate family announcements. Jake and I decided to tell the Parkers first, and their reaction was everything I'd hoped for. Patricia cried happy tears. Thomas immediately started planning how to convert their spare room into a nursery for when we visited. We told Aunt Rachel and the extended family next, and they threw us a surprise baby shower. Cousin Melissa gave a toast about breaking cycles and raising children with real love and support. It was perfect. I never told my mother. She found out when Melissa's daughter accidentally let it slip during a phone call with my father. He called me, his voice shaking. "Claire, your mother just told me you're pregnant. Is it true?" "Yes." "And you weren't going to tell us?" "No, Dad. I wasn't. That's our grandchild. That's my child. And I'm not exposing my baby to the same favoritism and manipulation I grew up with. This child will know grandparents who show up, who don't play favorites, who celebrate them unconditionally. They'll know Thomas and Patricia as their grandparents. You and Mom chose not to be part of my life. That choice extends to my children. You can't keep us from our grandchild." "Actually, I can. And I will. You have no legal rights here, Dad. You chose Brittany and Mom over me at every turn. You don't get access to my child after abandoning me." He tried to argue, but I hung up. An hour later, I received a venomous email from my mother calling me cruel, selfish, and vindictive for keeping her grandchild away from her. She threatened to sue for grandparents' rights. I forwarded the email to Victoria Chen, the lawyer who'd offered pro bono help months earlier. She responded within hours. "Claire, your mother has no case. Oregon requires an existing relationship with the grandchild to petition for rights. Since the baby isn't born yet and she's been estranged from you for over 2 years, she has no standing. If she tries to sue, I'll represent you free of charge and countersue for harassment. Do not respond to her threats. Let her scream into the void." My mother never followed through on her threat. Eventually, the emails stopped. The calls from Arizona ceased. I heard through Aunt Rachel that my parents were struggling financially, that Brittany had finally gotten a job at a local retail store after her influencer dreams completely collapsed, that they rarely left the house because they'd failed to make friends in Arizona. I felt nothing hearing this news. Not satisfaction, not pity, just pure indifference. They were strangers now, people I used to know, their choices leading them to loneliness they'd earned. When my daughter was born, Thomas cut the umbilical cord at my request. Patricia was in the delivery room, holding my hand through contractions. The Parkers were the first people to hold their granddaughter after Jake and me. We named her Rose Patricia Parker, her middle name honoring the woman who'd shown me what a mother should be. My parents never met her. They never sent gifts, never asked for photos, never attempted to rebuild what they destroyed, and I was grateful for their absence. Rose would grow up knowing only love, only support, only grandparents who showed up to every recital and game and school event. She would never know what it felt like to come second to a sibling. She would never question whether she was enough. She would never wonder why her grandparents chose a beach over her. 5 years after my wedding, I ran into Brittany at a Portland mall. She was visiting Oregon for a friend's wedding and had stopped for shopping. We made eye contact across the food court. For a moment, I thought she might approach me, might attempt some kind of reconciliation. Instead, she looked away and hurried in the opposite direction. I felt nothing watching her retreat. No anger, no sadness, no curiosity about her life. She was someone I used to know, someone who'd made choices that removed her from my story. I continued my day, meeting Patricia and Rose at a children's bookstore. Rose ran to her grandmother with arms outstretched, shouting, "Grandma!" with pure joy. Patricia scooped her up, covering her face with kisses, and I watched with a full heart. This was what family looked like, not blood relation or obligation, but choice and love and showing up consistently. My mother had wanted an apology, had expected me to break, had banked on my guilt, compelling me to return to the dysfunction. What she got was a daughter who thrived without her, who built a beautiful life filled with people who deserved to be in it, who raised a child surrounded by actual love rather than conditional approval. My mother lost everything she thought she controlled when she chose that Cancun trip. Her reputation, her daughter, her grandchild, her social standing, all of it gone because she couldn't prioritize what actually mattered. And I gained everything I'd been missing my whole life: a real family, genuine support, unconditional love, and the knowledge that I was enough exactly as I was. She's still waiting for that apology in Arizona. She'll die waiting for it, and I'll sleep peacefully every single night knowing I chose correctly. The people who show up deserve your presence. The people who abandon you deserve your absence. I gave my parents exactly what they deserved: nothing.